24 degrees, 90% humidity. Ross Age Stadium in West Lafayette, Indiana is sold out for 21st ranked Purdue entertaining Minnesota. Hi, everybody, and good morning. Steve Levy alongside Todd Christensen. Thoughts from Dave Ryan in just a bit. Well, the big question here at West Lafayette for Drew Brees and Purdue, how will they react to that heartbreaking loss a week ago to Notre Dame?
Brees only threw 22 passes. He has a career average of 28 for 45 and 316 yards. For Purdue to be successful, the ball has to be in Drew Brees' hands. He's going to throw it around the lot today.
Jermaine Mays and Antoine Burns are deep for Minnesota, and we are underway. And the kick out of the end zone, and Minnesota will take the field. 1st and 10 from their own 20. They're led by the freshman quarterback Asad Abdul-Khalik. And we've been told Minnesota's offense is somewhat limited, what with the freshman quarterback and the freshman running back to pay. They also start a freshman at tight end in Ben Utek. 1st down and 10. Minnesota in the white uniforms, Purdue in their home blacks. Single setback is to pay. 2 receivers out to the right. They send the man in motion, Jermaine Mays, and it's a handoff up the middle to pay. Sean Phillips made the tackle, wrapping him up. The offensive line for Minnesota, led by Ben Hamilton. They say it's the best front offensive for Minnesota in some 2 decades. Quite a compliment. And they'll be going up against a Purdue defensive line led by Matt Mitrione in the middle. He comes off a career game a week ago. And there is Ben Hamilton, arguably the best center in the country. He was leading the way for that last to-pay run that picked up 3. So on 2nd and 7, Abdul-Khalik out of the shotgun, trying to run with it. Not much success there as he is brought down. Mitrione on the stop. The rest of our best buys starting lineups, the linebackers for Purdue. Get a good look at them. Very inexperienced bunch. None of the 3 started at linebacker a season ago. And the rest of the defense for Purdue, Ashante Woodyard is the best cover man of the secondary. That was a loss of 2 on the Abdul-Khalik attempted run for 3rd and 9. He's throwing now. His pass is complete to Ron Johnson. Looks like he'll be just shy of the 1st down. Chris Crofton made the stop.
Ron Johnson at 6'3", 216 pounds is able to get his body between the defender and the ball. But the tackle is made, and they are just a little bit short about the length of the football. And this early in the game, you don't want to take any chances, Steve.
Vinny Sutherland is back deep. 14 kicking to 14. Preston Greening is the punter for Minnesota.
You saw his average, the net average for Minnesota is right around 41 yards, which is excellent.
It is a low kick that Sutherland will let go, and it is down by Minnesota at the 31-yard line. Renato Fitzpatrick making the drop on the special teams after the 40-yard punt. The quarterback for Purdue, you might have heard of him, Drew Brees. Enough said. His go-to man is Vinny Sutherland. He does it all in terms of special teams, offensive and defensive special teams, and he catches the football. He is a burner. And Brees leads him out. And there's offense to Sutherland, who you saw would not be winded after just letting that football drop on the punt. But he gives you everything he has. And Drew Brees brings him out on 1st and 10. Out of the shotgun, they fake the inside handoff, and it's complete to Tim Stratton, the tight end. Travis Graham made the stop. They gave him 10 on the play, and Drew Brees is already in the ball game. A veteran offensive line that protects Brees. Rob Turner, a late addition to the starting lineup up front for Purdue. The defensive line for Minnesota, Todd already mentioned Karan Riley, John Schlecht in terms of interior linemen among the best in the nation. They give him 9 on the play, brings up a 2nd down and short. And Brees will hand it off to try to get the 1st down out of Montrell Lowe, and they do. Fresh set of downs for Drew Brees in that Purdue offense. The rest of the defense for Minnesota, Sean Hoffman, a 4-year starter in the middle there amongst the linebackers. And your defensive backs for Minnesota, Willie Middlebrooks is the speed guy. They say he has not played up to par. They have very high expectations of him, and apparently he has not met those expectations the first 3 games. We'll watch for that.
Supposedly he is running 4.2540. He is the fastest member of the Minnesota Gophers team.
Cedric Brown checks in the lineup and then moves in motion out to the flanker position. Here's Brees. Pumps once and completes across the middle with Tim Stratton, the big tight end. Those two hooking up for the second time. Fumble. Stratton lost the football, and it looks like Minnesota has recovered.
Steve, what happens here is that Stratton makes the catch, pulls upfield, and is trying just a little bit too hard to get extra yardage. You can see wide open. He's got man-for-man coverage, exactly what he wants, because it's a mismatch for him and Maurice White, who comes downfield. Now take a look. There he breaks the tackle. Now as he cuts upfield, right now he should go down. Instead, give credit to Middlebrooks, who's the guy that comes from behind, sticks his hand in there.
27 now and counting. And that pass is incomplete, in and out of the hands of Jack Brewer as they try to set up the screenplay.
And as we pointed out, Brewer is somebody who is a converted free safety. Take a look at the throw right here. He comes out, goes right through his hands. That's the second drop that he has had. And evidently, you know, as a wide receiver versus a free safety requires a little more concentration, particularly on catching that ball.
You'd like to get the young quarterback some confidence there. That ball is hung on to by Jermaine Mays. Before he's forced out of bounds shy of the first down. Chris Clopton forced him out.
You've noticed here, Steve, at this point, Abdul Khalik has not thrown a ball farther than around 8 to 10 yards. And a lot of that, you mentioned early on the fact that they're trying to limit him. They don't want to take too many chances. What this does is not only give him some completions as well as get some confidence, but it sets up for the long ball later on.
3rd down and 2. Pitch to Tellis Redmond. Hammered down at the line of scrimmage by Ashante Woodyard. We told you he was a good cover man. How about that stick on Redmond?
6'2", 196 pounds. He is somebody that is big enough to come up and take on guards and backs.
None other than Drew Brees a season ago. Single setback is Montrell Lowe. Here's Brees to pass, feeling the pressure. Now gets it away and complete for a second. I thought he was throwing it away, but it was a completed pass to Andre Henderson.
One of the things that Joe Tiller pointed out with regards to Drew Brees is his ability to throw when his feet are not set. He seems to think that that shows the greatness of quarterbacks. Right here, there's nobody open, starts to scramble moves. He's going backwards off his back foot, falling down. He's able to complete the pass. That shows a lot in terms of the skills of number 15.
Yeah, he made the point that in the NFL, you rarely see quarterbacks nowadays set and throw. And Brees is certainly capable of throwing on the move. On 2nd down and 6, handed off to Montrell Lowe. Nothing doing there. Brees 5 for 5 so far throwing the football. That time handing it off. Curtis Poole made the stop.
Now, remember last time on 3rd and short, they went with the running play. I would almost guarantee that you're going to see number 15 go to the air. And I'm surprised here because they were so effective with the tight end in the first series. They need to go back to that despite the fact that Stratton fumbled.
After the 25-yard gain, here's 3rd down and 5.
Jim Chaney, a very animated offensive coordinator, the middle of your screen.
Here's Brees from the shotgun, looking right and throwing, and the pass is complete to Vinny Sutherland on the clutch 3rd down reception, good for a 1st down.
It's almost like stealing. Minnesota opts to go to a zone defense, and of course when you got Drew Brees back there with all sorts of time, you see Middlebrooks lets him go to the inside, just sits down in the dead spot in the zone. That's absolutely a gimme. For a quarterback as talented as Drew Brees, that is stealing.
Brees is coming up on a variety of records, both NCAA and Purdue records. In fact, he's tied with Mark Herman, number 1 on the all-time list for touchdown passes at 71. That looked like a problem in the backfield.
Remember that old commercial with Parquet? It's not nice to fool with Mother Nature.
That's right. They got 80% chance of rain in the forecast here. Here's Brees. It's complete. 1st down and more. What a block. Gets the block. Cuts to the outside and is dropped inside the 30 down to the 26.
And Seth Morales is the one who opens up the door for Handiford. Here he is, the freshman. You got a freshman who now with his 3rd catch of the game, his 4th touch of the ball. Take a look at the bottom of your screen. You're going to see it. Handiford comes on a crossing route, and right at the bottom, you're going to see Morales come back against the grain. Watch Morales right here. He sees what's going on, now comes back. Watch, he's going to nail 2 guys at once. 1, 2, bam. Well, that's got to feel good as a wideout. And, of course, Hannaford's got to feel good about the fact that he's got somebody assisting him downfield.
31-yard gain. Drew Brees so far, 7 of 7 for 98 yards. Here's Brees. Has all sorts of time now, trying to feel the pressure. Steps up and avoids the sack. John Schlecht was the man who landed on top of him.
Both offensive coordinators, Jim Chaney and head coach Joe Tiller, talked about one of the things that sets Drew Brees apart is his footwork. He's not necessarily a blazing fast guy, but he has a great job. He does a great job of feeling the defense. Right there, he feels it, cuts up, and instead of getting the sack, actually gets about four-yard gain. There's the animated offensive coordinator for the Purdue Boilermakers. I'd say downright garrulous. We were in there for quite a while as he explained to us the nuances of offensive football.
2nd down and 6. Here's Brees, pumps, right open, and touchdown! There it is to Vinny Sutherland, and with the touchdown, Drew Brees now #1 by himself all-time touchdown passes in Purdue history. Travis Dortch is on to attempt the extra point. And Dortch boots it through. 16 for 16 now on the season. Drew Brees already perfect. 8 for 8 for 119 yards. Here, hooks up with Vinny Sutherland for 6. A little early, talking about the Rose Bowl already, the Big Ten opener here today. Maybe. High hopes here in West Lafayette. If you look at some of the first quarter numbers.
Well, certainly they're one-sided, especially when you take a look at the passing yards, the numbers by Brees down there. Also 2 minutes more in time of possession. And normally, Steve, I'm not big on that time of possession. But coming into this game, Purdue had 4 more minutes, nearly 5 minutes more per game than the other team.
It was a 59-yard punt. And so Brees from out of the shotgun. Normal 5-man protection as it is on just about every single play. Completes to Andre Henderson, who made 1 move. Couldn't make a second. Very close to a first down.
David Gibbs, the defensive coordinator for Minnesota, obviously was fearful coming into this game of the skills of Drew Brees. But it's not just his skills. If he's going to get that kind of time to throw, Steve, Minnesota really doesn't have a chance. I'm thinking that there you see David Gibbs on the sidelines. He's going to have to adjust a little bit and start to take some chances. He's going to have to blitz a little bit because if you continue in the zones, Brees is just going to pick you apart.
Gibbs said all week, we want to make Drew Brees earn his scholarship this week. Make him be a great player. And so far, Brees has been today. 11 of 14 for 149 yards. Some problem with the exchange there. Brees rolling to his left. He's got plenty of running room. Here's Brees at the 50, down to the 40. There is a flag down. Way downfield as Brees is rushed out of bounds at the 35.
Steve, I'm thinking that's going to be defensive holding, which they're going to have to pick the flag up because obviously it wasn't if they went with the run. That time, just as I said it, Steve, they went with the blitz. Minnesota's in man-to-man. The corner has his back turned to Brees, and that enables him to have the opportunity to go as far as he did.
A 27-yard run by Drew Brees, and we'll see how they sort it out. Holding on the defense, 10 yards from the end of the run, first down.
Well, see, as I say, I think there's a situation where you can pick this up. Take a look at the top of your screen right here. You're going to see, now watch when he breaks out. The back is turned there. He had it by the jersey. Now he takes off, and of course he has all that grass. Sutherland gives him a block. But again, one of the difficulties or one of the problems when you're going man for man, you're very dependent upon a pass rush because you've got your back turned to the quarterback.
1st and 10 now from the 27. Purdue a 7-0 lead and looking for more. Brees with time, fires complete, and he's able to hook up again with John Standiford. He's starting to put up some numbers. Jimmy Henry on the coverage.
They're anticipating that John Standiford is going to be a star, even though right now he's only about 178 pounds. They feel that he is going to grow into that sort of dominating big receiver. At 6'4", they figured about 200 pounds. Thus far, 4 catches for 56 yards.
They give him 6. 2nd down and 4. Breeze looks left and throws left, and he's double incomplete. 1st down. And like a machine, Purdue is on the move.
One of the problems, we have not called the name Karan Riley today or anybody else in terms of pass rush. Here's why. Take a look at the quarterback release. Catches the ball. Look at the release. This is ridiculous. 1.4. Are you kidding me? I mean, you're going to have cat speed to get to the quarterback if that's the way they're going to release. And, of course, as a defensive line, when you have to come up the field and run all the time, that requires energy, and you start to get frustrated if you can't get to the quarterback. And Riley, I just noticed with the hands on his hips earlier, very frustrated.
Next yard Purdue gets will put him over 200 total offense already. With all sorts of time, he's able to pick a receiver, and this time he picks Tim Stratton, the tight end.
So Minnesota would have to feel good here, Steve, if they can force a field goal. Middlebrooks is what everybody wants in terms of a defensive back now at corner. Everybody's always talking about the Smurfs, how they just can't cover the 6'3" guys. Well, you got a guy here with blazing speed, 6'2", 6'3", 195 pounds. But up to this point, I think the coach has been a little disappointed in him. He has not quite measured up to what they'd anticipated.
That was only Breeze's 4th incompletion of the game. That pass is complete. Touchdown, A.T. Simpson. Breeze's 2nd touchdown pass of the game, and Purdue is on their way.
One of the things that Drew Brees does so well, and remember on the other touchdown pass he did it, amazing job of threading the needle. You can see that there are 3 Minnesota defenders around the receiver, but instead he's still able to find it.
Travis Dortch is on to attempt the extra point. Dortch boots it through, and Purdue has a 14-0 lead.
Well, we mentioned the fact also that Drew Brees spreads it around. A lot of people are catching balls. Just a great job by Drew Brees.
This is the only Big Ten stadium that has always had the real grass. The stadium in its 77th year, and Purdue played rather nicely here on their home field. Already up 14-0 and looking for more. They have great field position. They'll start at their own 49-yard line. As if Drew Brees needs any help, he has it. Here's Brees, pump once again, plenty of running room, and he's thought about making the move and then goes down the slide, and there's the flag. Boy, that's tough on the Minnesota defense. He looked like he was going to shake and bake, and then he went into the slide. Tough call if that goes against Minnesota.
Well, you know that it is, and Justin Hall, certainly there's some...
Personal foul on the defense, 15 yards. 1st down.
It's like something that we've seen a lot of times throughout the year, Steve, and that's when a guy looks like he's going to run upfield at the last minute, cuts out of bounds. But right here, he slides. No, that's not worth 15 yards.
Brees, bit of a rarity. He was going to go under center there. Appears to be changing the play at the line of scrimmage. 2 receivers out to his right, and he hands off to the left. Steve Ennis, 2nd down and 5. Brees again under center.
Once again with the audible. Same one.
And it's the same play, and they hand it off again to Steve Ennis. Not much there for Ennis. Brees, we mentioned the Heisman watch, that it's constantly on him. Since 1971, 8 quarterbacks have won the Heisman. And there you see, none have had more than 2 regular season losses. Purdue comes in 2-1 already on the season.
Well, just as you were talking about numbers, certainly numbers have something to do with it, but wins or losses are always pinned on the quarterback, whether it's justified or not. And, of course, with the way the defense is playing for Purdue today, you'd have to say that, you know what, they have as legitimate shot as anybody to going to the Rose Bowl.
On 3rd and 4, back to the shotgun. Here's Brees, plenty of time. Rolling to his right, now faces some pressure, and Brees will throw it, and very lucky that was not picked off. Greg White had a good shot at getting to that football.
There's a flag down in the secondary, Stephen. With all the people scrambling around, you'd have to think that somebody got grabbed.
John Schleck, had the pressure on Brees, forcing him into that throw.
Holding on the defense on a pass across the line of scrimmage, 10 yards, automatic first down.
One of the things that Joe Tiller pointed out, I said, is there something about him that you'd like to see improved? And he said that one of the things that he does extremely well is that he has the ability to just let that go. If something goes badly, he moves on to the next play. But the one thing that he said that he needs to improve is to not try and make a play every single time. There's a time for a quarterback to throw the ball away. And at least on 2 occasions today, Steve, I've seen him do just that.
Yeah, we're nitpicking, trying to find something negative or something for Breeze to work on. And there are very few items like that. Breeze completes the pass. That one a bit behind Tim Stratton, who made the catch and hung on. That's like the old job interview question, right? When they say ask you for a negative, give them something else. A negative that's actually a positive, like you work too hard. Breeze tries too hard to make a play every play.
Well, in that case, what a great example of throwing off the right foot against his body. He sees the corner blitz and is able to make the adjustment and get the ball to Stratton, even though it's a little bit behind him.
And young college students, feel free to use that in your interviewing technique. Next time they ask you, what's your biggest problem? I work too hard. I try too hard. Bosses love that.
Absolutely.
3rd down and 4. Breeze off the low snap. Throws, corner in the end zone. That looked like it went off the hands of Sutherland as well. He turned around and looked for a flag. No flag coming on. Willie Middlebrooks had the coverage.
Well, now, all the struggles that the Minnesota defense has had, one guy that has stood out has been number 42, Willie Middlebrooks. Done a great job here. This is the comeback. He's got no beef. That's great coverage on the part of number 42, and he is showing the skills, Steve, that everybody had talked about that he had in his possession. Quickness, he's tough. I like him.
24-yard field goal attempt upcoming from Travis Dortch. And Dortch able to connect. 7:23 to go. Here in the first half, Purdue by 17. Among the many awards Drew Brees has already picked up, the first ever recipient of the Socrates Award. And that goes to the nation's finest athlete in terms of academics, athletics, and service in the community. And that's the thing about Brees. Not only is he a great quarterback and does everything well, he's also a really good kid.
Well, he's a subscriber, I assume, to Sports Illustrated. I noticed he had that helmet phone there on the sideline.
I've got one in my living room, I'm embarrassed to say. And Jermaine Mays from the goal line trying to carry it out. And he is brought down shy of the 20-yard line. And Minnesota will look to get something going offensively. That's something they have yet to do this afternoon. As you look at the possessions, all the punts, just 1 first down, a total of 33 yards of offense for Minnesota so far.
Joe Tiller pointed out that in about the 5th game of the year, freshmen are no longer freshmen, they're veterans. And so this is the 4th game for Minnesota. They're still a little bit inexperienced, and that certainly is shown in Abdul Khalik's play up to this point. And of course, really, even though he had such a big game last week, Tepe has been a non-factor in this game thus far, Steve.
Abdul Khalik, the quarterback, and now playing from behind. They take the reverse. Now he's throwing across the middle. And nearly picked off. Should have been picked off. Stuart Schweigert, the true freshman, coming over from the safety position. Schweigert had an interception a week ago and dropped another interception in that same game. And he could have had his 2nd pick of the season there.
Well, again, there's a situation where the play-action fake didn't fool anybody that deep in the end zone, and as a result, or rather on their end of the field, Schweigert is able to measure it, but just couldn't come up with a catch. And once again, Steve, how many games do we have where we have a defensive back who drops a sure interception? Happens almost every game.
Not too many ball hawks on either of these teams. Both have just 1 interception coming into this game in the first 3.
I believe at this point that both teams would be undefeated.
Pump right. Throwing left by Abdul Khalik. They give it to Redmond. And he is dropped at the 25-yard line. Landon Johnson made the stop. Let's go to the field and Dave Ryan.
Well, State Minnesota coach Glenn Mason had live scrimmages 3 times in the week before the Baylor game and 1 time this past week. Goal line situations, full contact. He felt the team was getting soft, not preparing well after being upset by Ohio in week 2. Now, the coaches tell us these scrimmages were more intense and violent than real games are. It really helped them gear up for the big win against Baylor last week. They'd hoped it would carry over to this week, but I'll tell you guys, the team looked shell-shocked on the bench. A lot of mistakes offensively. Not the kind of effort Glenn Mason wanted.
Greening will get it away. Vinny Sutherland is back deep. And Sutherland from the 30 makes one move, cuts to the middle. Boy, he is an exciting and a fun player to watch.
You got to give him his due.
On 2nd down and 3. Here's Breeze, all sorts of time. He's had it all afternoon. He's got and what a grab! Seth Morales making the catch, going up and getting it for Breeze. Gain of 32, and Breeze continues to spread it around to the different receivers.
Travis Graham does a poor job here, Steve, of not being able to get in and make a play. When you're the defensive back, you have to attack this. You can't wait on it. Watch number 13, who's going to come from the side right there. He is behind the defender. He misjudges it right there. Can't make the play, can't bat it down, and as a result, you pointed out, Morales goes up and gets it.
The numbers on Morales, that's a story. Besides Sutherland and the tight end Stratton, you look around, everybody's, in that 10-catch range on the season. Off the play action, Breeze throwing back across his body, and the rare incompletion from Drew Brees. Cedric Brown was the intended receiver. Let's go down to the field once again. Here's Dave.
Well, Steve, you might think Purdue, the media relations department here, would be inundating Heisman voters nationwide with Drew Brees propaganda. The subtle approach, though, is going on here in West Lafayette. At the start of the year, the CD-ROM was sent out, about 900 of them. It has highlights from Drew's first 3 years here and really gives the media the option of receiving the Drew Brees Weekly, which you see. It's updated stats and features after each game. Guys, it's not a budget-busting operation. The CD-ROM was put together by a Purdue student last year, Erica White, who volunteered in the athletics promotions office.
Good stuff, Dave. Understated, classy, elegant, the way they're going about the business. That was for intended Seth Morales, who makes the great play earlier, and maybe should have hung on to that one.
Well, again, Drew Brees is not the first Purdue quarterback to go into the Heisman race. Bob Greasy, second to Steve Spurrier. Mike Phipps was second to Steve Owens that particular year. You can see Brees, Herman, and Everett. Brees, of course, fourth last year. I would think that he'll be a finalist again this year. Is that fair to say?
I would think that would be fair to say. Are they not ready to call him a quarterback factory, but Len Dawson came out of here. You mentioned Greasy, Gary Danielson, Jim Everett as well. Some good quarterbacks that went on to have fine NFL careers. Here's Brees under pressure, completes, hits Standiford, and he's shy of the goal line, brought down at about the 3. John Standiford on the receiving end of that 17-yard pass from Brees.
We keep emphasizing the feet and the ability of Drew Brees. Watch what he does this time. Watch to the left of the screen is going to come the rush, and watch the throw. He senses it, waits, buys time, and then flicks it right there with his legs spread. Flicks the ball right. Boy, that's a terrific throw. And as you pointed out, Standiford is having himself a day, Steve.
First down and goal from the 3. You see the difference in the first downs. And Purdue will try to get it on the ground with Steve Ennis, the ball carrier.
Something to think about here. Now, you mentioned the idea of numbers. Here, play action makes sense. Because when they look at touchdown passes, they don't look at the length. It's not like it's 50 or 60. This is a great opportunity here for him to pad his stats, go to play action, roll out, get a touchdown. I remember when I was playing years ago when Dan Marino was with the Dolphins here, he had 48 touchdown passes. It seemed like he must have had a dozen of those 1 or 2 yard things.
Best season ever by a quarterback in those terms. And the run play does not work there on 2nd down. Brees continues to add to his numbers. 19 of 27 today. He's already passed Jack Trudeau of Illinois for #1 Big Ten all-time in terms of completions. And he's coming up on all-time #1 in the Big Ten for attempts as well.
I say he gets it.
He's just a record-setting quarterback, Todd. 3rd down and goal now. Here's Brees, wide open, makes one. No, he did not. Stop at the goal line.
Good stick at the goal line there by Delvin Jones, the free safety. He was able to juke Travis Graham. But what that reminded me, remember a couple of years ago in that Virginia-Florida State game when it looked like Warwick Dunn had got underneath the tackler. Instead, he's able to stuff him there at the goal line. Certainly Purdue is going to go for it here, up 17.
And the crowd, they rise as one. Homecoming weekend here in West Lafayette. A capacity crowd on hand of better than 67,000. 4th and goal from the goal line, and they pitch it out. Touchdown, Steve Ennis. They fake the sneak. Touchdown, Purdue.
those young people, young quarterbacks that are out there, take a look at one of the things that they did, and that was they went right up to the line of scrimmage, and Drew Brees snapped it right away. Did not get the defense a chance to get set, and the result was that everybody was between the tackles. A very easy touchdown for Ennis.
Travis Dortch on for the extra point. He's already got himself a field goal and 2 extra points. Make it 3 extra points now. 2:29 to play here in the first half. It's all Purdue. The Boilermakers lead 24-0. We are at halftime in West Lafayette. Pretty good half for the Purdue Boilermakers, celebrating their homecoming weekend. Ranked 21st in the nation, they have a 24-3 lead over the Golden Gophers of Minnesota. Welcome back, everybody. Steve Levy alongside Todd Christensen. And for Drew Brees, seems like every game is going to be a record-setting game. In this one, he has a couple touchdown passes. He's #1 all-time for Purdue. He's also now #1 all-time in the Big Ten in terms of completions. He's having himself a heck of a football game, especially coming off maybe his least productive game of his college career a week ago in South Bend.
He is putting up some huge numbers, but the thing that catches my attention, Steve, is the way he is doing it. A variety of throws, off the back foot, off the front foot, standing still, throwing. He really is the complete quarterback. And one of the things people talk about is whether or not he's going to be able to do it at the next level, being only 6'1". Well, it's my belief that he's a winner. And you know, you think about guys like, say, Fran Tarkin and Joe Theismann. Steve Young's a friend of mine. I know that he's just a little bit over 6 feet. He seemed to have done pretty well. So I like this young man's chances at the next level.
There was talk if he would have come out last season and got into the NFL draft, that he would have been drafted either midway from middle of the first to the middle of the second round. And of course, the senior season figures to have him drafted much higher than that in the National Football League. The return. All right, Dave, thank you. We'll look for that. Here's Brees pumping once and throwing across the middle. Again, a wide open target. It's A.T. Simpson for a first down. Numbers from the first half. It's
pretty one-sided, I'd say.
Brees, and more Brees.
Well, again, you see the passing yards, it stands out. And total offense that you pointed out, the fact that he can scramble again. They say he's a 4'8" guy, tops in the 40s, but but he has terrific feet. Again, the 10 yards rushing for Minnesota. That is a far cry from last week when Thomas Tepe blitzed Baylor with 183 yards.
You wonder if Minnesota could take something positive out of getting the 52-yard field goal. They get on the scoreboard prior to halftime. We'll see when they take over, but they need a stop right here. Brees again able to complete the pass. And again, it's A.T. Simpson, the big rangy target. Jimmy Henry made the stop for Minnesota.
Big is right. How many wide? You see 6'4" wide receivers, but not 230 pounds. That's really more like tight end dimensions. But there's a guy that takes advantage inside the 20 when they have to battle and go up for a ball. Of course, A.T. Simpson already with a touchdown today, Steve.
We asked Joe Tiller in terms of this Heisman watch for Drew Brees. Hey, if the score gets out of hand, is it effective your play calling, trying to get Brees maybe better numbers for the folks around the country looking at it? And he said absolutely not. On the 2nd and 8, that pass was deflected and knocked away. But they have not tried to add to his numbers. Now we'll see as they get later on in conference. You know, they're not going to have too many blowout games in the conference, so they couldn't pad numbers if they wanted to.
One of the things, and we laughed about that when you brought that up, is you take a look at the Big Ten schedule for anybody that plays in the Big Ten. You've got right now, I believe it's 5 teams in the top 20 and 6 in the top 25. And as a result of that, there is no situation where you're going to say, hey, you know, let's pad some numbers. But, of course, this offense is going to generate numbers for the quarterback, and both Joe Tiller and offensive coordinator Jim Chaney acknowledge that.
Purdue goes to Penn State next week. Minnesota will host Illinois. You'll see that game on ESPN. That pass by Brees is completed to Andre Henderson, and that was a strong arm throw, good for 18 yards.
Henderson with a deep comeback route, and again, because of the 3-man rush by Minnesota, he has plenty of time to throw. Now, this is impressive, and let me tell you why. One of the knocks is they say he doesn't necessarily have a gun for an arm, but arguably the toughest throw for a quarterback is across the field on that comeback route. Nice throw.
Look at the remaining schedule for Purdue, and even though it's early on, it's being considered maybe a down year for the Big Ten. You look at some of those names, they just jump out at it, Jim. It looks, every Big Ten schedule looks difficult.
Not too many gimmies there.
First down and 10. We'll see what's left on the play clock. They get it away in time, and that ball off the hands, and Middlebrooks will be called for the pass interference Andre Henderson, the true freshman from Dublin, Ohio, was the intended receiver.
Steve, I've been talking about Willie Middlebrooks and how well he has played. And, of course, when you're behind the receiver like that, you can see he's beefing a little bit. I thought he had a beef, too. It looked like he came over the top and did a nice job of batting the pass away.
On the defense, it's a spot foul, automatic first down.
And as you pointed out earlier, Steve, the Gophers just can't seem to get a break when in terms of penalties. Yeah. Watch right at the end. Well, he did body him a little bit. It was pointed out to us by Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator, when I asked him about Middlebrooks. He said one of the things is he is so physical that he draws a lot of penalties, that he already had 3 or 4 flags coming into this game.
Off the flag, 1st and 10. Freeze and Purdue on the move. Good job by the receiver, Stanford, to come back to that football and make the reception. Middlebrooks on the coverage. Middlebrooks is everywhere. It doesn't seem to matter which receiver Breeze goes to. Middlebrooks seems to have the coverage.
Well, as I say, I like him. I like him as a player. He's a physical corner that can run well. He's somebody that somebody is going to use at the next level. David Gibbs, defensive coordinator for Minnesota, at this point, Steve, has to be absolutely frustrated over the fact that he's tried everything. But this guy does such a great job of seeing the field. In fact, Joe Tiller made the point with regards to Drew Brees. They thought maybe he knew the offense too well.
Yeah, lose some of the playbook. Here's Brees scrambling and diving ahead. He's down just shy of the 10. He's got another first down.
Tackled by White and Henry.
Jimmy Henry made the stop.
Well, Joe Tiller, what I meant by that, Steve, is that when we discussed it, it got to the point to where he said that he would ask a question of Drew Brees and he would know so many of the variables of the offense. It's like, hey, you know what? Go out and get something to eat, go party. Come on, enough already. You know, be a little bit diversified. But it's because it's very rare when you have a college quarterback that has that level of knowledge.
Brees rushing 7 for 51 so far. And he is, Todd, now you'll be happy to know, over 300 yards passing for the afternoon. 338 to be exact.
Thank you. I'm now ecstatic.
Yes, you said that all along. You would have a 300-yard day. Here's Brees now, and Purdue on 1st and 10. Throwing complete to Tim Stratton. Can't get around the corner, and a pile-on just shy of the goal line. Travis Graham ran him out. Mason, an interesting guy to talk to, is they try it on the ground. A rare rush. Montrell Lowe is wrapped up down by the goal line.
And a rare tackle for number 91, Karan Riley. We have not called his name much, and we thought that maybe with the injury to Matt Light, he would be a little bit more prominent here. But again, the pass rush for Minnesota, frankly, Steve, has been non-existent. And Dave Ryan made a very cogent point earlier that with all the collisions that they had during the week, it just appears to me that the energy level of Minnesota just isn't there.
3rd down and 1. Ball spotted at the 3-yard line. They can get the first down without scoring. Forget about it. They scored. Touchdown. Steve Innes, his 2nd touchdown of the day.
Now, we talked about padding stats. I find this interesting, Steve, that Joe Tiller is almost going the other direction here. Now, twice they've been inside the 5. You would have thought it would have been very easy to get a play-action pass, get a couple more touchdowns, but to his credit, they're afforded the opportunity to get some of these younger runners, let them feel good about themselves, and obviously at this point, Drew Brees already feels pretty good about himself.
The extra point upcoming from Travis Dortch, and he puts it through. He's been perfect today, and Purdue has been nearly perfect. 31-3, Boilermakers here in the 3rd. Back in West Lafayette, it's all Boilermakers, 31-3. Purdue has responded very nicely after the heartbreaking loss to Notre Dame a week ago. It's Antoine Burns carrying it out, and he won't make it back to the 20. Fumble, football is loose. Looked like Minnesota recovered, and they did at the 10-yard line. Elvin Jones was able to recover the fumbled kickoff. Let's go back down to the field once again. Here's Dave.
All right, Steve, thanks a lot. We talked about Drew Brees breaking Purdue's all-time touchdown record. Passing, he broke this guy's record. Mark Herman was a quarterback for the Boilermakers, 77 through 80, and quarterbacked in the NFL as well. Were you disappointed to see your record finally fall after all these years?
Well, I guess a little bit, but Drew is such a great competitor, and if I had to pass the baton to anybody, he's a great guy, very accurate, great competitor, so, hey, they had to fall sometime.
What has Drew Brees, Joe Tiller, the entire offense meant to Purdue?
Well, it's been a kind of a christening of a new attack for them. They've brought back winning football to Purdue. They've opened it up, and they're very exciting. So it's a resurgence, and it's great to see. They're expecting to win now.
And games are a sellout here, which is something a little bit new. It's homecoming. How about another bowl game and the continued tradition of this program on the way up?
Well, they'd certainly love it, and I think they've set their sights on the Rose Bowl this year. They think, experienced offensive line, senior quarterback, so the Big Ten season starting now. They had a disappointing loss last week against the Irish, but today full steam ahead.
Great to see you. Thanks, Mark.
Dave.
Guys?
All right, gentlemen, thank you. The pass was completed. Another completed pass from Travis Cole to Jack Brewer. Cole has come in and been rather effective. 5 of 9 already, and completes another pass. Make it 6 of 10. Goes back to Brewer again, and he's at the 33-yard line. Chris Clopton made the stop. Glenn Mason is of course, Minnesota, the homecoming opponent here for Purdue, and I guess the Golden Gophers are getting kind of used to that. Mason said, we come to town, we rent floats, not buses. So, and here they find themselves in a situation where they're being abused in the Purdue homecoming. Thomas Tappel is the run carrier. With the ball carrier on the run, I beg your pardon, down to the 40-yard line. Landon Johnson made the stop.
My buddy Nate Odom's a former cornerback of the Wisconsin Badgers, and of course had a number of years with the Buffalo Bills. Tells me the story that when he was at Wisconsin, of course, before Barry Alvarez, they weren't quite as effective. And he said that one year, including their own, there were 7 homecoming games. He said every time they got off the bus,
And you get used to it. If you're a freshman, you think that's the way it is every game, right? The band greeting you. Thomas Tappel, again, the ball carrier.
Back to the 36-yard line.
Matt Mitrione made the stop. There is the starting quarterback, Assad Abdul Khalik. Got off to a bit of a rocky start, 5 of 12 for 34 yards. Had a couple of drops on him early.
He did.
Some flags hurt him early as well. But a tough start. And here, this is a redshirt freshman quarterback. It's a little bit of the case of welcome to the Big Ten.
Yeah, certainly the jitters were indicative when he pitched out on the option, and there was absolutely nobody there. And I think at that point, Glenn Mason realized he better go with a more experienced QB.
And that is the Travis Cole. That pass is incomplete. Jack Brewer and Ben Utek in the area there. Utek, the tight end. We have not heard much from him, the freshman.
And Utek is somebody who they're really counting on this year. He's 6'6", 2 1/4. They had him out at wide receiver. They moved him in because they want to have some speed inside.
3rd down and 13. Tough day for all-world center Ben Hamilton in the Minnesota offense. Now he's snapping to Travis Cole. Cole steps up, gets away from one Purdue player, but can't get away from a couple more, and he is taken down to the turf. Craig Terrell leading the charge for Purdue.
Steve, despite the fact that Purdue's defense has 4 freshman starters, they have been outstanding over the last 2 weeks. And, of course, everybody is aware, as we pointed out, of the dynamic offense of Purdue. But the thing that has to work for them over the course of the season is they've got to stop some people. And over these last two games, the Boilermakers have proven that they can do just that.
Preston Greening is on for his 8th punt. His average is better than 47 yards per punt.
Nice.
And he drops Donald Winston back to the 5-yard line. Breaks a couple tackles. He's out past the 15 and dropped at the 16. A 55-yard punt. On for his first attempt. Another fine prediction there.
That's what it looked like.
Chris Clopton returning the kick. Okay, to cancel the Vegas trip, please. Montrell Lowe, the single setback behind Drew Brees. They put it on the ground to Lowe. Try to establish some kind of running game.
And you can hear the crowd grumbling a little bit. That's not what we came to see.
We came to see Dave Ryan, I believe. Dave?
Exactly.
Well, guys, Vinny Sullivan is going to be unavailable for Purdue's offense when they need a good drive here. Now that Minnesota has crept back into this game here late in the 4th quarter. He's got cramps we told you about and a slight hamstring pull. So the top receiving threat from Drew Brees will not be back in the 4th quarter for the Boilermakers.
Dave, thank you. Drew Brees has put it up 49 times today. And Coach Tiller told us, they want to be between 30 and 40, and 40 might be too much. And here is his 50th attempt. Except now he pulls it back and will take off with the football and slides ahead for the first down.
One of the things that Drew Brees has been able to do quite well today is to throw from all sorts of different angles and all sorts of different positions. Right here, he throws across his body, gets the ball to the tight end, stays in the pocket, steps forward and drills the deep ball. And then, of course, with his feet, he's able to pump, float to his left, and still deliver the ball right on the money. That great pass that you made reference to the tight end over the linebackers. Joe Tiller does not take credit for any of this, by the way. He says, this kid's a natural. He's a great one.
Here's Brees. Going to take off again. Why not? Drew Brees runs a 27, 9, 15, and 11 yards. And this will be close to a first down. That looks like another 10-yard gain.
Well, he slid a little bit too late, and as a result, Eric Lee is able to whack him a little bit. But Joe Tiller talked about whether or not he was going to be successful at the professional level. The thing that he pointed out is that after all the years of which he was involved in personnel when he was up in Canada, coming down and taking a look, he said that he was sure that he was going to succeed because of the fact that he had what it took mentally as well as physically.
9 on that play, so they make it second and short, and they put it on the ground to Montrell Lowe. Lorenzo Griffin made the stop, and we talked to Jim Chaney, the offensive coordinator, about Drew Brees' success, and everybody talked about that. They gave all the credit, as you point out, to Brees, and then to the quarterback's coach as well. That's Greg Olson, their quarterback's coach, and Chaney was very quick to say, hey, I have very little to do with Drew Brees. Greg Olson deserves a lot of that credit.
But you pointed out something that was interesting, too, and that's that so many times when we look at the periodicals and see the coaches and list their resumes, I said, are you forever going to be the coach who on his resume has Drew Brees? And he says, well, sure. Nothing wrong with that.
The numbers on Brees today. Under 6 to play here in the fourth. Hand it off to Montrell Lowe, and breaking a couple tackles for his best run of the afternoon. First down and more. He's inside the 30. Karan Riley finally got to him after the rush of 19 yards. The longest run by any Purdue player other than quarterback Drew Brees.
One of the advantages of being only 5'8" is that with the low center of gravity, you're just not going to go down with the arm tackles, and Lowe refuses to. There he breaks one tackle with a 360 spin, able to break out, and here downfield you got Karan Riley. Certainly he's going to tackle him. There he's able to bust out and get extra yards, as you pointed out, the longest run of the day for the youngster.
He had a total of 14 yards prior to that run, which went for 19. Brees. Inside handoff to Montrell Lowe. San Antonio, boy, it's so hot in Dallas and Houston. Lowe again on the ground, inside the 20, inside the 15, and all of a sudden Montrell Lowe and the Purdue running game starting to take over. That's a gain of 13, and Lowe becomes the 32nd Purdue player to have at least 1,000 yards rushing in his career.
And certainly one thing of significance here, Steve, that is the 82nd play for Purdue. Last week they didn't get that many snaps, and certainly that was a concern for Joe Tiller.
First down and 10 for Drew Brees and Purdue. Slot right, Montrell Lowe, the lone setback. And they hand it off to Lowe, trying the right side. And a couple of gophers, they can't bring him down. How about this effort for Montrell Lowe? They're going to say he was down. Oh, the crowd responding as you would expect. Great effort. A little bit too late by Montrell Lowe.
But it was the right call by the official. He was stopped. But it certainly is exciting to see that. Take a look at this at full speed and decide for yourselves as to whether or not his forward momentum was stopped. Cuts to the hole right here. Right there, he's stopped. And you can see right there, too, White is the guy who lets him go anyway. Good by the official.
Montrell Lowe is smelling the goal line there.
Well, certainly. He gave me a suspicious look. You don't agree?
No, I'm not sure I agree. I would like to see that play continue. For no other reason than it was a great effort by Lowe. Here's Brees, going to work on his rushing numbers today. Drew Brees, touchdown! 11 yards on the rush for Drew Brees. And it's party time here at Purdue.
Drew Brees was able to deke Delvin Jones in the open field. Watch number 21. He's initially fooled, but now he's out there. Now he fakes like he might come back against the grain. Instead, the one little bit of hesitation, Jones isn't able to come up with it. Good blocking at the point of it. Look at the reaction of Breeze.
Travis Dorjan to attempt the extra point. Make this one all but official. He connects. Maybe Drew Brees realizes some of his competition for the Heisman, like Michael Vick, might want to work on the rushing numbers. Drew Brees, 88 yards on the ground today, and he's got himself a rushing touchdown. Purdue up 38-17. Down 14, a minute 40 to play, and there it is.
Nice catch.
There it is.
Wow, what a catch.
Minnesota has the football.
Terrific catch.
Mike Lehan.
Of Mike Lehan. I mean, that ball came up quickly. He was able to snatch it. No collisions, no nothing. Usually you're waiting for that really big hop. There's a couple of collisions. Look at that. He sprints forward, just makes the catch. And the Purdue receiving team, all their hands guys are out there. They're just stunned. This is a great kick. Watching that the hop's supposed to come up. Bam. There it is. Lehan steps forward, makes a great catch.
That's the easiest looking recovery
I was thinking the same thing. You're
of an
right.
onside kick I've ever seen. Don't go anywhere, folks. 14-point game. Minnesota has all 3 timeouts left, and they've got great field position. And Travis Cole is heated up nicely. Here's Cole looking to air it out. Throws it downfield. Tip ball, and is it intercepted? It is. Stuart Schweigert, the true freshman, comes up with his second interception. Second interception today, 3rd of the season.
Well, of course, at some point, Minnesota had to go up top, and this is what they did, trying to go deep. Ron Johnson is up there. There's the collision, as you pointed out. Schweigert is able to get the garbage, make the catch. Kind of an early Hail Mary. A bounce that went the way of the Boilermakers, as most of them have today, Steve.
Beg your pardon on Schweigert. That's his first interception today, 2nd of the season.
Now at quarterback for Purdue is going to be Scott Edgerton, I believe. And Drew Brees has called it a day. David, rather.
The minute 29 left. Purdue will look for his run out, the clock up 14. So they put it on the ground, and Montrell Lowe. Drew Brees leaves. 497 total yards for him.
As you pointed out, Minnesota had all 3 of their timeouts, and they're going to use them.
Sounds surprised. We're in a 14-point ball game. It's anybody's game at this point as the fans head for the exits.
1 yard.
Timeout, Minnesota.
So you see Drew Brees' numbers today, the career high in rushing. Do you think this puts him as the favorite, Heisman-wise?
It certainly puts him right smack in the middle of the race, if in fact he maybe dropped down a notch after last week's performance, 13 of 22.
But as you pointed out earlier, with regards to his numbers, certainly last week couldn't have helped. I mean, he wasn't awful. He just didn't throw that much.
And Brees had the big first half, and they put it on the ground. Again, they had a 72-yard touchdown drive all on the ground. And wait a second. I think Brees heard us talking about his numbers. He wants a little more. Drew Brees appears to be back in the football game.
My thinking here with regards to Joe Tiller has nothing to do with numbers, but management. And that is that he wants his quarterback in there to get the first down and get this thing over with, whether it's throwing or running. And he certainly doesn't want a turnover at this point deep in his own territory, which the inexperienced quarterback might profit.
2nd down and 9. Montrell Lowe. He's clearly gotten stronger as this game has progressed. Let's go down to the field. Here's Dave Ryan.
Yeah, guys, don't think for a second the Purdue defense is happy about the way this game is finished with just a minute 15 left. Both Aiken Adell and Matt Mitrione were screaming at their teammates to get focused and finish what they had started after the last Golden Gopher touchdown and prior to the Schweigert interception. Maybe it worked and got the defense back in gear. I don't think they'll be too pleased looking at the tape of the second half, especially the way the Golden Gophers sliced up their defense for the latter half of the season coming up.
Very true, Dave, as Minnesota uses their 2nd timeout with a minute 8 to play here in the 4th. Homecoming here at Purdue. Last year, Purdue went to Minnesota and spoiled the Golden Gophers homecoming day and tried to return the favor here today, and it does not appear that it'll work out that way.
Next week, Purdue is going to be in Happy Valley against Penn State. Penn State struggles have been well documented. Nonetheless, not an easy place to play.
1st and 10. Drew Brees back in the football game, and he hands it off to Lowe. They keep it on the ground, as you would expect, and figure Minnesota will burn their final timeout, and they do. Clock is stopped with 1:02 left in this 14-point game.
Well, Joe Tiller has certainly turned the program around here in Purdue. 3 years, 3 bowl games, 2 of them victories. Did a great job at Wyoming as the head coach as well. And of course, we discussed the fact that he laughs at the notion that he's the one that brought the passing game into the Big Ten. Nonetheless, he gets a lot of credit for what he has done in terms of the aerial games in this particular conference. You can see this first 7 years of the decade, only 23 wins. Over the last couple of years, 25 with Joe Tiller.
Sort of thrilling way, I think, to end the football game. And Purdue will run out the clock with Drew Brees. You mentioned Joe Tiller, and things have been so good around here under him. Attendance is up some 12,000 under Joe Tiller. He's got himself, seems to keep signing new extensions. He's signed through 2005 here as the head coach. And actually, both of the coaches that we looked at today get credit for turning around programs as well, as you see the average fannies in the seats.
Joe Tiller, a former assistant for Purdue in the early 80s. Maybe Thomas Wolfe wasn't right about going home again.
Final 25 ticks. On a solid day out of Purdue, and their Heisman hopeful, Drew Brees. Final score, Purdue will go to 3-1. They defeat Minnesota by a score of 38-24.